Welcome to our Hometown's virtual conference series, where we discuss digital strategies for newspapers. Today's webinar is produced in partnership with the National Newspaper Association, and we will be hearing from Matt Larson, President and CEO of Our Hometown Incorporated, on the topic of revenue opportunities for newspaper podcasts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for our live webinar brought to you by Our Hometown and the National Newspaper Association. Today, we'll be discussing revenue opportunities for newspaper podcasts. My name is Matt Larson. I'm the president and CEO of Our Hometown. And also on the call, we've got Tyler Wood and Chris Winders. Welcome, Tyler and Chris.
Thank you.
Hi, Matt. How's it going?
Very well. Thank you, guys. Looking forward to this discussion. We work together a lot with customers. We've seen a lot of interesting case studies. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. But quickly, just a brief overview on Our Hometown, just so you have some context of where we're getting all this experience. We've been in business for 26 years. We manage hundreds of newspaper websites, native apps all across North America. We do it all on a WordPress-based platform that's customized for news publishers. And the platform itself is constantly evolving. The feature set is entirely based on publisher feedback. And, the big thing that we're hearing is that, there's a lot of interest in automation and also just, making the most of their print content. So from the very beginning, we've been turning the PDFs into HTML, and now we're turning the HTML into audio and just getting into that whole space. So we're going to talk about, in the next 30 minutes or so, going to talk about some of our experiences here in monetizing this content, because that's ultimately what it's all about. I mean, the technology makes it much cheaper to do, but still we need to find those revenue streams. So we're going to look at podcast advertising, the different formats those come in, podcast subscriptions. It's a brand new thing, just the last couple months, available on Apple and Spotify. And then also we're going to talk about getting into podcasts, just podcast production on a budget, how you can do that with audio articles and some of the developments we're looking at for that feature. Now I should be able to trigger this poll. I'm interested, how many of our attendees currently produce a podcast or create any kind of audio content on their site? And if you do have a podcast, could you drop a link possibly to your website or wherever the podcast is hosted, if it's on Buzzsprout? Be interested to see. We're always looking for more examples of publishers trying this. So it looks like most of the results are in. Share results. You should be able to see that about 80% do not have a podcast in production yet, and 1 out of 5 respondents do. And I think I know which one that is. I looked at most of your websites and saw what you got going on now. So I'd love to hear more about how you've got started with that, but we'll get to that later. Let's wrap that poll up. Okay. So here's the big question. Why are newspapers getting into podcasting? Before we get into, how to do it and how to make money, what's the draw? And, it's pretty clear here from this IAB research study on podcast ad revenue that it's expected to triple to $4.2 billion by 2024 across the U.S. Also, another reason to get into it, 26% of the U.S. currently listens to podcasts on a weekly basis. And I think that's interesting. Chris, maybe you can comment on this. You mentioned some stats earlier, but I think the weekly podcasting frequency, that's a metric that's used commonly in the industry, right? Like weekly listeners.
It is most podcasts that are highly rated are average around 20 to 30 minutes plus, and they go out once a week. Right.
And I think it's interesting how this is kind of, that frequency just lines up perfectly with many of our listeners' print audience, the frequency of the print edition. So it's just kind of a nice coincidence. And I think if you can get something out weekly, you're in a good space, because, you don't want to do it too infrequently. Like a monthly podcast is tough to develop, the audience behavior of returning every week. couple other things. These are just like logistical things that, honestly, I experience these as a podcast user, a big podcast fan, just, hands-free news consumption, eyes-free as well. You can do it while driving or multitasking, improved handicap accessibility, and just reaching the younger audience, which is, often gravitating towards audio. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the state of podcast advertising. Anyone that listens to podcasts has probably heard the host-read ads, right? It's by far the most common format. It's easy to create. If you're just, recording a podcast manually, you just, read off the copy. It definitely seems to be effective at holding the audience's attention because it's in the same voice and tone of the content. It's kind of seamless. You don't really have time to turn away or skip over it. You don't really know how long it is. So, you just usually listen to it. At least that's my experience. Audio articles, our technology includes an option to automatically create pre-roll ads in the narrator's voice. So that's kind of our version of host-read ads for audio articles. And we'll talk much more about that later. Affiliate marketing. I don't know if anyone's seen this or, the one person that has a podcast going. If you're doing any of these advertising streams, I'd be interested. Buzzsprout referral link, that's just basically something that you can get. So Chris, I think once you create the Buzzsprout account, you get this instantly, right? There's like no qualifications because it's purely referrals. And
right. Exactly.
So you make money if someone clicks the link from your podcast and purchases something from the vendor. So it's basically a finder's fee, but that's an easy thing that they can commit to. In terms of the programmatic, though, that you need some type of an audience. And I think that the lowest hanging fruit that you found, Chris, is Spotify, the ambassador program. You just need 50 listeners and you qualify, right?
Yep, because then you can just record in your own voice their copy, and then you get revenue from that as proselytizing the platform.
Right. Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of a house read ad, but I mean, you get the guaranteed revenue, I guess, from Anchor just for promoting their app. And by the way, Anchor is the app that you use to feed Spotify. So if you haven't heard of that, it's a really nice app. Actually, you can record the episodes on there and then just automatically send it up. But this is like your lowest level to get you, a revenue opportunity there. With Buzzsprout, I think some of the folks on the call that have podcasts are on Buzzsprout. You really need a much larger audience, right, Chris? I mean, I think we have the stats broken down here. So, like, I don't think many, starting out, it's tough to fall into one of these categories. 1,000 downloads. So you really need time to build up to this, right? I think. Do we have customers doing that? Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to point out there that Buzzsprout is making a distinction here between downloads and Anchor was having listeners.
Right.
So
right.
it's a different metric.
A different metric. Right. Yeah. Downloads is just if they basically hit play on the episode, they download it. I think that counts. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't think there's any requirement for how long they listen, but they do require that you have episodes at least 23 minutes long, which has been a big driver on our strategy here, because we came into this producing these audio articles that are about 2 minutes long, and so just throwing those up on Buzzsprout, we would never qualify. So we're working on audio editions where we stitch all those episodes together, and then we would be able to qualify for this. But yeah, to be totally frank, I don't think any of the publishers we've worked with have reached this volume. There's a certain scale you need to be at to qualify for programmatic ads. So, we're thinking about some opportunities and some possibilities to make it there, and we'll talk more about that later. Okay, podcast subscriptions. So, again, pretty new thing that came out in the industry. They both sort of released it around the same time. I think not by coincidence. I forget. I think Spotify might have done it first, but these apps, if you think about it, they've built their own audience. They have subscribers, at least Spotify does, and they're bringing your content to them. So And it's a format that they prefer, the audience on these apps. So, if that's how they want to get the news, then that's how we want to get it to them. So what we have here in terms of costs is just $20 a year for Apple Podcast Connect to have an account. But Anchor, there is no cost for that, right, Chris? So you can just start publishing your episodes and set up a subscription stream there, correct?
That's correct.
So,
and the reason they can do that is because Spotify's already charging a membership fee, a general membership fee to all their listeners anyway. Right. So, yeah, exactly. That's why they don't have to take a cut for that.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So you can kind of see the business models play out there. Some of the other platforms that we found in our research, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, and YouTube Music, but we haven't explored these much because there's not an automated way to upload to all of them. Google Podcasts, we can. It's just we haven't really explored that yet, to be honest. I did want to mention it as a possibility, and those opportunities may grow. But for right now, we're focused on Spotify and Apple. Okay, and then podcast subscriptions on your website. This is definitely what you can do as an Our Hometown customer. It's all built into the CMS. But we could also do it as a third party, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But the paywall would basically just sit on the podcast playlist on your website, and you would collect 100% of the revenue. So it would be, no revenue share with Apple. And that's the other thing that we were saying. Oh, there's a 15 to 30% revenue share as well with Apple. I think that's what we were saying before the call.
Because I think it's part of an in-app purchase with that.
Right.
And
anytime
they just prorate it for the first year, I'm pretty sure, is the way they're working it now.
Right. But Spotify has no revenue share, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah.
Again, because it's funded by subscriptions. So, yeah. Okay. But yeah, so with this kind of setup, we've done this for a number of publishers as a third party. So with a RSS feed, we would take your content and feed it into our system, generate the audio, and then we could spit it right back to you as a subdomain that you could host as part of your website, and have a paywall on that and just generate audio only subscription revenue. We haven't really seen many publishers do that. Usually it's sort of just all access. So if you're subscribing to the website, you get all the audio and all the text. But the idea of having an audio only subscription is interesting to us, and we're looking for ways to get there. So that's part of the future developments. So now let's talk about some of our examples. We've got a whole bunch of publishers all across the country doing different things. Some of them are just audio editions. Some of them are creating audio articles automatically. Some of them are interviewing, sitting down with local advertisers and business owners and interviewing them manually and then uploading the episodes. There's just a lot of different examples, but this is the one that I find most interesting. And I just wanted to visualize it for everyone so you could see the whole subscriber user experience. It's pretty cool. They come in here, this is on Spotify. So I searched for Clark County Democrat. And, that's one thing to think about. Like right now, it's not an overcrowded market. It may not always be like that. And in fact, I think eventually there'll be a lot more podcasts. So if you can get in there now and build the audience now and establish yourself, you're probably, in this case, someone searches for Clark County, it's the only thing that comes up. They're right at the top. So then I can subscribe here because we've got it all set up. That's the new feature. Very, nice, clean paywall, and $3.99 a month. That's the price that we set, and really easy to obviously purchase. You just click the side of the phone, and then I'm in, and I can listen while the phone is on lock. The screen is locked, so and it continues playing. I can control the audio, so it's all very embedded into the operating system. It's a good user experience. So that's what we're doing down in Alabama with Clark County Democrat. Wilson County News. Let's see, they've got daily episodes of audio articles. So they're using the audio articles transcription technology. That includes pre-roll ads and banner ads on their playlist page like we have here. So let me jump out and show you a quick example of this. Wilson County, that's their playlist page. Here's an article. I'll just show you the pre-roll, what that kind of sounds like, and we'll play a little bit of the audio as well.
Audio articles on Wilson County news made possible by C Street Gift Shop in downtown Floresville. Brahmas battle, but fall to Holland in first playoff round. The Stockdale Brahmas played the Holland Hornets in the first round of the 2022 playoffs at Bob Shelton Stadium in Buda November 10th, coming up just short, 36-31.
So that's about a 3-minute article. And as you heard, we had a quick mention of a local advertiser, and there's a whole bunch of things that we can do here. We can put graphics in this spot. Actually, here's a better example of that. You can have banner ads here, and then this text will usually match what is read as the pre-roll, just in case there's any details here that the person wants to refer to. We just want it right in front of them as well. So that would be Wilson County. Let's see. Then also the Signals AZ. I wanted to show you guys, let's see, their playlist page. So they've got the ad on the player, which is on every article on the site. So you've got like these individual audio articles. You could just listen to that one episode and then you're done. But we've got this whole other tool that's sort of inspired by Spotify playlists, which is the playlist generator. And so rather than just listening to that one story and that's it, it's going to automatically feed into another related article, sort of like, on YouTube, you just see one video after another. We want to continue to engage with them. So we're looking at the categories that, we look at the source, the reference article, and what topics are mentioned in there, the people, places, and kind of correlate that to find the most relevant stories in the archives. So, but anyway, this is the playlist page. It's a whole new area for engagement. It's a whole new product on your site. And again, this can be hosted as a subdomain on any site. We can do it as a third party. And then you can run your ads as banners here. And this is what they've done. So as I go through back to the audio home, we've got different ads. The audio home is where you're going to see all the playlists for the week and the month and the newest articles and basically category playlists. Okay. And by the way, if anyone has any questions or comments or want me to elaborate, just drop it in the chat. Any comments there are welcome. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about how publishers can get into this. So we've been talking about audio articles throughout the whole thing. But just, again, this is a way to automatically transcribe all the articles on your website into audio. It's available as a third party. We just use the RSS feed from any CMS and creates an embeddable playlist. We saw that on Wilson County. We can do a trial if anyone's interested on the call, just as a thank you for joining us and hearing us out. We'd love to just set this up for you, no cost, just as a 30-day test, and you can see what your stories would sound like through this system. We would just need the RSS feed. But basically, again, I've basically presented this already, the newspaper playlist generator. That's what we have here. This is what it looks like on mobile. And you can either go to this link, audio articles playlists, or scan that QR code. I'll drop the link in the chat here. Okay. Get back to my screen here. And just a few last things that I wanted to go over in terms of future developments for audio articles. We wanted to get your feedback on these ideas. An aggregate audio news app. This is something we were just talking about. Tyler, can you share with us sort of what this would look like and why we would, want to develop something like this?
Sure. Yeah. The basic idea is to have a standalone app specifically designed for audio articles and audio articles alone, where we could organize all of the audio articles being fed into the system by region, by category. We could show nationally what the most popular audio articles are, as just kind of a way to differentiate the format from your standard podcast format to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. And the main benefit that we see to doing this is to give publishers with kind of smaller markets the access to a programmatic ad network that you probably wouldn't be able to build up the listenership to have otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been talking about like how this is all possible. Like, yeah, you could definitely launch an app that has all your audio content on it. But, you know, to really make it work, we're thinking we need some kind of scale. So, you know, we're thinking about like a national level news app that, you know, would have a map on it. You could be geolocated and find the closest stories to you. If you're interested, let us know in the chat. We're also going to have a poll on these features at the end. But if you're interested in something, getting involved in something like that, just let us know. Dynamic pre and post roll is the other feature. So that's right now we have kind of limited capabilities. We can insert the same pre-roll ad on all the articles on the website. What we'd like to develop is the ability to target by category, and we should have this by the end of the year. So you can have specific advertisers only appear on audio articles in certain categories, or, you know, we can swap them out in the future. And unfortunately, the way it works now, it's all kind of hard coded into the audio file. So the advertiser will always be on that audio episode. So we're looking to make it more dynamic there too. Custom playlists. This is something that I know I would use, but as publishers, you know, do you think your listeners would be interested in putting together custom playlists? Because everything that we have now is automatically generated, and there's really no control of the order of the stories or, you know, the topics that are feeding into these playlists. It's just sort of the top and this week's audio articles. So interested if there's any interest there. And then MP3 ads, that's another thing that we did custom build this for the Albuquerque Journal so that they're dropping in an MP3 ad in front of their episodes, but we don't really have it so that you can swap it out on the fly. It's kind of something that we'd have to put in there ourselves. So would this be something that you think advertisers would be more interested in? Rather than having the narrator of the audio article just read it, would we want the business owner to record a message and have some music behind it and give it a little more personality? That's the idea there. And any other ideas from the audience, I'd love to hear them. Drop them in the chat here. You can send them just to the panelists, or you can send them to everyone. And if we could, I'd love to get some feedback through this poll. So let's run this poll here. These are the features that I just went over that we're looking to develop. We're just looking to get a sense of how to prioritize these. So, you know, if any of these sounded interesting to you, just let us know here. Okay. And while we let that roll, this is basically the end of the presentation. So we got through it pretty quick. We can definitely stay on and answer any questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat now, and we can answer them. You know, basically live, but we'll hang around and talk on the chat too. You can email me if you're interested. We do WordPress prototypes, rapid prototyping. So, you know, we can work with you on the audio as a third party, or if you're interested in using WordPress for your newspaper website, we can get you a totally free prototype. Just scan that QR code, or you can go to ourhometown.com/contact us. Let me just grab that link and drop it in the chat. Because then what you'll do is send us a PDF of your paper. And this is what we do for hundreds of newspapers every week. They send us their PDFs and we put up all the content in HTML. We'll do that for you to create the prototype. And at the same time, we'll turn all your articles into audio, so you'll be able to hear that. So it really give you a good sense of what your content could look like and sound like on our system. And yeah, I'll just have you send a PDF via WeTransfer. Okay, yeah, and I already explained that. So yeah, either scan this with your camera app, or click that link in the chat. Tyler and Chris, anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up the presentation?
The only thing I was going to add is there's the video might be it's a nice summary of everything we've done that we might play at the end to kind of give a nice bow tie on that. But the one thing I was going to say, is that the technical part of getting the content onto these sites for the subscription, if you did want to do that, is not terribly difficult. I mean, I was just going to say that, like, for getting Clark County set up on Apple.
Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
All I needed to do was put together some artwork that basically is not exactly the same, but is specifically targeted for the subscription. So in that case, it was these weekly highlight things. So I had their logo and all that, and I put it together back with that. And as you saw, you can choose the banner. Actually, could you go back to that slide with the Clark County visuals?
Yep. There we go.
So you're able to choose. You make your own banner, and then the weekly highlight episodes there on that far left. You get to choose kind of what wording you want to use there. That gets kind of transferred over into the weekly highlights. Get bonus episodes. You can kind of customize, and you can run more than one subscription type. They've got monthly, yearly, free trials. I think you can do coupon codes and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of customize it for how you might want to advertise your content.
Awesome. Yeah. I forgot to mention that's another development that we're looking to make. But right now, you are just so for any our hometown customers on the call, you're downloading the individual audio articles from the website and then putting them into like a GarageBand and stitching them all together, right?
Basically, yeah. You just go harvest the top stories for the week, and then in any kind of audio editor, I just basically laid them out end to end with a little bit of bumper music and an audio article intro that I put together separate from the articles, just to kind of give it some bookends. And I end up with 5 or 6 stories, comes out 23, 24 minutes. So it fits right into that time frame that Buzzsprout's looking for, and what also seems to be fairly popular with listeners.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we should take a look at these videos, but before we do, let's just share these results. It looks like about half of the respondents are interested in the audio news app. So for that, it's kind of early stage, but if you would just drop your email in the chat right now if you're interested in that, because what we're thinking about is some type of well, we're still developing the business model basically, but it'd be some sort of a revenue share thing. If we could get the audience, and you could bring us the content, there would be a revenue share, and we'd transcribe all the audio for you as part of that. So if you would drop in your contact info, that would be helpful. And then also we had interest in MP3 ads. Half of the people sounded like they wanted that. And custom playlists. Okay, it's up there too. All right, so that would be that. Now, I wanted to show one other thing here. Actually, we got a quick testimonial from Guy Rogenson at Signals. I was going to drop this into the slideshow, but I didn't get a chance. So let's take a look at this. This was just sort of like a email interview that we did with him, some questions back and forth, and then we turned it into something more interactive and visual with the audio articles technology. So you'll hear a little audio from our system, and also just as this is an example of how you could take that audio and get into the video space too.
We recently asked our hometown customer Guy Rogenson, publisher of Signals AZ, about his team's experience using the audio articles and playlist features of our CMS platform. Here's what he had to say.
What was your process for seeking out advertisers who would be a good fit for audio?
Our sales staff targeted businesses who have already shared with us that they were interested in podcasting and the audio medium.
What kind of information and statistics did you provide in your initial pitch?
We provide overall download numbers and national numbers on podcasting, showing how this is a growing medium.
How satisfied have your advertisers been with the results of their audio ad campaigns?
I would say overall very positive, as our podcasting production is producing a profit.
Are there any tips you have for publishers just starting to use audio articles?
We determine what written stories get published to podcast by always tracking data and what written stories are trending online. Publish often. To learn more about creating a podcast from your website, visit our hometown.com/audio articles.
So yeah, just a quick testimonial from one of kind of the innovators in this whole space. Guy has been working with us on audio articles for the last 3 years, developing the technology, and he had the whole, he had advertisers ready to go once we had it working. So it's been really good working with him. And I'm sorry, everyone, it looks like the chat has been disabled. I'm not sure what happened there, but if you have any feedback or any questions, the Q&A is working. So please go over there. Looks like we've got some response there, so I appreciate that, Roger and Anonymous. Now, okay, so basically I'm done with the main essence of the presentation, but I do want to share one last video with you guys just to give you a chance to get any last questions in. This is from our channel Today in News Tech. We kind of just cover the industry through this, and it's just an overview of monetizing your news through podcasting. So let me grab this link. There we go.
In this episode, we are taking a look at how news publishers can monetize their content with podcasts. Podcasting revenue is forecasted to almost triple to $4.2 billion by 2024, according to the Interactive Advertising Bureau's 2021 podcast ad revenue study, a rate faster than the growth of the total internet advertising market itself. In addition, listenership has continued to grow in parallel with the rising use of smartphones, tablets, and other connected devices. And in 2022, there are an estimated 74 million weekly podcast listeners in the U.S. On top of that, new data from the National Research Group found that while 44% of consumers have tried to cut back on spending at the grocery store amid ongoing high inflation, only 18% did so with their streaming subscriptions. This remarkable industry growth offers great revenue opportunities for news publishers. However, many smaller outlets may find the initial technical and time investments to be a barrier to getting started with the medium. Our Hometown Web Publishing, which hosts around 250 community newspaper websites, offers publishers several features that eliminate some of these barriers via AI-powered text-to-audio and automated syndication of that audio to many of the major podcasting platforms. Their audio articles playlist feature can automatically convert website content to audio and present it alongside the text articles. Additionally, this audio can be set to automatically publish to the podcast hosting platform Buzzsprout directly from the website. Buzzsprout then delivers the podcast to the directories of your choice, be that Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or others. While many larger podcasts with thousands or millions of downloads earn much of their revenue through third parties advertising on their podcast, most platforms require those high listenerships to participate. However, a local newspaper focusing on its community audience may not reach such numbers, but there are alternative ways to monetize their podcast. Two of the most attractive alternatives to third-party advertising have been introduced by the podcasting directories in the past several years: subscription and donation options. Having a subscription or donation-based model for distributing your podcast, paired with the automation of the Our Hometown audio articles playlist pipeline, provides publishers with a head start on the way to monetizing their news content via podcasting. Using Apple Podcasts as an example, a publisher on Our Hometown's platform pays a monthly fee of $75 per month. For the audio conversion, utilizes a free or paid tier, starting at $12 per month, on Buzzsprout depending on how much audio is being hosted, and finally a yearly fee of $20 to Apple's Podcast Connect program to then take advantage of their subscription options, although Apple does keep a percentage of the revenue. The main caveat to this process is that while all website articles are converted and syndicated to Apple Podcasts, the platform requires a subscriber audio version of the article to be hosted directly on the Apple platform in order for it to be subscription only. The easiest way to do this is to have the episodes distributed by Buzzsprout. Then on Podcast Connect you can upload a second copy of the audio file, then unpublish the episode on Buzzsprout. This assures that the audio content is only available via Apple Podcasts with a subscription. They call these bonus episodes offered as a subscription perk. To learn more about Our Hometown's audio features, visit ourhometown.com/audio articles playlists.
Today in News Tech, the podcast covers
Matt, you might be muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, so that's basically our presentation. Thank you very much for bringing up that video at the end there, Chris. There was some details that I had missed in the presentation that were included there. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that overview?
Well, no, not. Basically, it just depends on how a publisher might want to go. If keeping the majority of the audio articles behind their own paywall through our CMS, and
Right.
then basically, as you say, we could create these highlight episodes to give us the length, and then those can just be uploaded manually.
Right. And that's kind of the thing that we discovered with this. We were really hopeful that we could just plug and play and feed all these short episodes to the podcasts and just monetize that. But it turns out you do need to manually upload what is being monetized through subscriptions. So that's why.
Because basically, as soon as it goes out to Buzzsprout and is in syndication, it's no longer cost controlled.
Right. You're giving it away over here, so it doesn't make sense to charge here.
Right.
But yeah, so our solution is to just batch those episodes together. And again, we're looking to automate that, so you'll be able to just export an audio edition. You won't have to do any of this stuff that Chris is working out and all these technical details. But so anyway, that's basically what we have for you today. I appreciate everyone's feedback. Definitely we'll reach out to you guys when we work on that aggregation app and start looking for publishers. But we'll stick around, leave the Q&A open and answer any questions. But I think that's all that we've got for today. So thank you very much for your time, and appreciate everyone, Tyler and Chris, you joining me today as well.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, no problem.
Take care, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. To learn more about podcasting with audio articles, visit our website at ourhometown.com/audio articles playlists.